Congressman Mark Harris of North Carolina, also a member of the House Judiciary and Education Committees. Good morning to you, Congressman. You led the First Baptist Church there in North Carolina for more than a decade. You understand what it means to wear your faith proudly. Your reaction to what we've seen happen to the Jewish community over the weekend, the president's comments. It's important for Jews, everyone of faith, to celebrate loudly after this attack.
Well, good morning, Mark and Charlotte. Thank you so much for having me with you this morning. And listen, this has been a tragic weekend. There's just no way to look at it any other way. From looking at what happened to losing our soldiers in Syria, to seeing what happened there at Brown University, and we're still looking for the gunman and really try to understand the motives. And certainly when we look at what happened in Australia to the Jewish community, it causes all of us to be absolutely heartbroken. It should cause all of us to be absolutely, as the president said, willing to stand up, speak up, and continue to stand strong in our faith. We're just not going to let people continue to try to intimidate and try to somehow create this terror that is going on in our culture right now. And we've got to be willing to stand together and united across and the globe. And I think it's an important time for all of us to be willing to step in, especially at this season of the year. That's what speaks so loudly about these attacks when they're happening.
Yeah.
You know, on any given Monday, just one of these events would be a leading story for so many. And yet we're talking about three horrific events. You mentioned Syria and the two soldiers being killed there. Of course, Brown University, we just saw that live report from Sarah Williamson. And then also what happened at Bondi Beach. It just seems like the violence has really taken over this holiday season, and it's just horrific.
It is horrific, and I think it's important for people of faith to be able to stand together. I think it's important for spiritual leaders to be able to speak up and condemn these attacks in every way possible. It's important for our national leaders to condemn these attacks. And I think that we've just got to be united. We've got to certainly support these that have been victims of these shootings, and we've got to continue to pray for them. We live in a fallen world. Let's remember that. And we've got to remember in this fallen world that we've got to stand with the power of Christ and the Christian faith that steps forward to say that we will bring hope, we will bring peace, we will bring strength, we will bring grace in the midst of these horrific, horrific deaths.
Yeah, and despite all this tragedy, Congressman, I do want to turn our attention back to what is going on in Washington, D.C. You and your colleagues face a race against the clock, another deadline to come to some kind of a solution on those COVID-era Obamacare subsidies. They expire at the end of the month. Of course, last week, the Senate rejected both House and Democrat proposals. I understand House Republicans have a plan. Speaker Johnson plans to put it on the floor later this week. Can you tell me what that plan entails and what you think it's going to mean for people's health care?
I think what we're ultimately looking to do here is really deal with some of the very issues that Republicans had suggested some years ago. Look, we were the first to say Obamacare was going to fail. It just was destined to do so. There was no way that it could continue to survive without these subsidies. And the reality is the government pouring more and more money into them. We're just feeding the insurance companies that were continuing to raise the rates. And so the Democrats themselves created this mess. They created this 5-year period where they were going to sunset. And so these COVID-era subsidies that are coming to an end were meant to come to an end as the Democrats put them in place. So the reality is we're having as Republicans to step in and try to come up with some fixes, try to come up with some solutions. So you're going to be hearing more this week as we look at this and read through the bill about associations being able to purchase health insurance. You're going to look at ways that we can be involved in choice plans that folks can be involved. Again, our primary thing is to stop sending the money to the insurance companies and in some ways get people back in control of their own health care. That's what we want to get to ultimately.